Hi, I'm Jay Richards. We're here at COSM 2023 Technology Summit, and I am joined by Bob Metcalfe, whom, if you have followed the COSM conferences or you follow technology, you recognize Bob Metcalfe as the inventor of Ethernet. He is also the person behind so-called Metcalfe's Law, which was actually, I think, coined by George Gilder himself. And he was here actually, it started off the conference in Bellevue, Washington, and so he's joined me here now. Bob, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so you gave a sort of really interesting kind of overview for people talking about connectivity, and you started by talking first about the sort of predicted pathologies of the internet. Talk a little bit about that, and if have some of those been solved, have all of them been solved, or are we still dealing with
So my point of view is that we've been overwhelmed with connectivity.
Yep.
And it's generally a good thing, but there are some pathologies, and we spend a lot of time on those.
Right.
But just to give examples, the first hacking attack on the internet was in December of 1973. I wrote the memo about it, and that was a pathology.
Yeah.
And then came pornography.
Yeah.
And the United States government almost shut down the internet.
That was the Communications Decency Act, or
they
later.
passed that act in '96, and so therefore there's no more porno on the internet.
Yeah, it solved that.
And then there was advertising, which is kind of a funny.
It is.
It started out as a pathology, and everyone was upset about it. And then suddenly we discovered that advertising would finance the construction and operation of the internet forever.
Yeah.
So it stopped being a pathology and became our savior.
Well, and so let's zero in on the one like porn, for instance, right? Which we now know, of course, when people were thinking about porn initially, it would have been sort of print media or something like that. Of course, now it does absolutely proliferate. Do you think is that just a kind of an intrinsic feature of this kind of increased connectivity? Is there some way to solve that, you think, technically or legally that would be fine? I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think what that particular episode teaches us is you can't solve these pathologies once and for all. There's a give and take, an arms race, a challenge to creativity for how you get it under control so it doesn't bother you so much.
Yeah.
And it's still there, but it's not. We don't talk about it much.
No.
You haven't talked about it in months, probably.
Yeah.
And I just brought it up. So the advertising one is another, which I've already mentioned, but it makes a great example where we dealt with it. The residual problem is called spam.
Yes.
But we don't talk about spam that much anymore.
No, it's just it sits in a filter or in a folder.
Still
somewhere.
there.
Yes.
But it's in a controlled way so it doesn't ruin the overall experience.
So the fourth pathology you mentioned was censorship, and we just heard from Michael Schellenberger, and he talked about a sort of censorship industrial complex, which is kind of a surprising one because we all imagined connectivity in the internet, it's sort of free information, and yet we're dealing with these weird episodes of censorship.
But censorship is only a pathology because of fake news. In other words, it was the rise of fake news that provided a rationale for censorship, and now we have censorship as its own pathology.
Its own problem,
And I'm confident we'll overcome these pathologies. They're artifacts of the sudden rise of connectivity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're social creatures, and suddenly we're connected in ways that we never have been in history. So there are going to be obvious sort of cost and benefits. We want to lower the cost and enhance the benefits. Well, then the second half of your talk, you talked about certain reversals, which I thought was really, really interesting. What were you referring to there?
Well, I was trying to make the point that the growth and spread of connectivity is full of surprises. And there's various kinds, and there are a category that I call reversals.
Yeah.
So, for example, for a while we were building bigger and bigger computers, but then the internet came along and it became advantageous to build smaller and smaller computers and network them together. The networking together part enabled the rise of the small computer and the end of the mainframes. So that's a reversal, and it was a surprise to the people involved.
Right.
And it had major consequences. It moved Silicon Valley from Boston to Palo Alto.
Wow.
Because Boston adopted the mainframe mentality, and of course Palo Alto and Silicon Valley more generally adopted the small network computer model.
So If you had to sort of prognosticate that, what you think will happen here with connectivity in the next 10 years, let's say, because people were talking, I know a lot about the Internet of Things a few years ago, but at the moment, to me, it's not clear exactly where we're going. Where do you think this goes the next 10 years?
Well, we're now using the megabit, I call it for shorthand, megabit internet, but the gigabit internet is on its way. So if you found connectivity overwhelming before, it's only going to get worse. We're going to have worse in a funny way.
Yeah.
And the focus of this gigabit internet is mobility and latency. So mobility, because we're ever more, the cell phone is just the beginning. And then latency. There are many new applications, gaming, driverless cars that requires close to zero latency. So that's a focus of the gigabit, the coming gigabit internet. So there's more connectivity coming. But connectivity crops up in all different places.
Sure.
So AI is a big topic. You
It
may
is.
have noticed. Well, AI is enabled by connectivity. You may have heard the term neural networks. Networks is a giveaway.
Right.
And my current theory is that the current limitations on intelligence in AI are a lack of connectivity.
Interesting.
So we have the Chat GPT-4, which has 1.76 million, billion, or trillion connectivities. But there is a theory that very shortly they're going to go to 100 trillion connections inside the neural nets. And by the way, by my calculations, that's not enough to achieve human intelligence. They're going to need another factor of 10 on top of that.
Okay.
10 to the 15th connections, and then maybe we'll approach AGI, human level intelligence.
Well, and hopefully we'll still be around to be able to see what happens.
You have doubts about our still being around?
I don't know. Well, I'm sort of hoping for Kurzweil's 2029, period, when apparently, according to his predictions, the increase in longevity tech sort of cancels out the actual aging process. I'm somewhat skeptical, but it'd be nice.
Can't wait to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you won the Turing Award in June of 2023. We're having this conversation in November of 2023, and it came with $1 million prize. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. What was that like, and what was it for?
Well, the Turing Award is a Nobel-ish type award, including the $1 million. Yeah. It's the biggest award in computer science, and most important. Of course, I feel that way. My getting it was a surprise. It's for work I did 50 years ago.
On the Ethernet.
On the invention, commercialization, standardization of Ethernet.
Wow.
And plus, I'm an unusual recipient in that I'm not really a mathematician. I'm an engineer, and I'm not really a researcher. I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm an odd recipient of the award. The general recipients tend to be more mathematical and research oriented.
I see.
Than I am. But like at my age, I get a lot of awards, by the way, and it's almost as if my job now is to get awards. And the purpose of awards is to create role models, to motivate people, to inspire people to pursue excellence. So with the award comes, in my view, come obligations. So I'm on a speaking tour. I call it my Turing tour.
Yes.
And I'm planning to give my tour, various versions of my Turing lecture 50 times.
Oh, terrific.
And so I feel, and plus I now have to be more dignified than I used to be.
That's right, with the name of this award. It's wonderful. So, well, thanks so much, Bob. It was really good talking to you.
Thanks for asking.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Jay Richards. We are at the COSM 2023 Summit.